My guest today is a former Arizona State basketball player who played in Tempe from 1996 to 2000. She was a tremendous student athlete who represented the maroon and gold very, very proudly. Kristine Sand. Kristine, such an honor to be chatting with you today.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Well, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you as well. And before we kind of get into the ASU stuff and your basketball journey, I want to start off by talking about your work with the Sand Vika Basketball Club. How did you first get involved with that?
Well, I mean, that's the first club I played for because in Norway, everything is organized through clubs. So you don't do the school setup like you do in the US. So my dad actually was one of the people that founded the club in 1967. And I started playing there when I was 7 and played there until because they haven't really had the league teams, like the elite teams, they've been more focused on the younger teams. So that's kind of where my heart is back here in Norway, and still active. I mean, I would like to play. My knee's a little I don't know. It's not optimal at this point. So I'm hoping, but I have been playing, actually until up until 2 or 3 years ago. So it's fun.
Obviously, here in the States, it goes high school, college, and then the pros.
Mm.
So it seems like in Norway, it's a little bit different from that.
Yeah, it's very different. And I think, I mean, it's pluses and minuses. I like the fact that things are organized through the school system when the kids are younger in the US, and I think that makes it a lot easier for them to join. Here, all the practices are from like 5 p.m. and later, so the parents have to take their kids to practice at night, and then that kind of limits how many sports you can do. And then you also have the seasons, like you have 3 seasons every year, and so every kid can actually do different sports, which I think is just great for versatility and just to do different things and make yourself a better athlete. So here it's more, especially soccer is the biggest sport, and they really just take probably 50, 60, 70% of all the kids, and so it's hard to compete. Basketball is not a big sport in Norway, and yeah, so we try.
Have you had the chance to work with these young kids who are wanting to play basketball?
Yeah, I've coached tons, both before and after I went to the US. And now my two youngest are, I started teams for them. So my 6 year old, he has a team, and then actually my 3 year old too. I mean, I can't really call that basketball what they do, but it's more of like a fun thing and playing around with basketballs and shooting some hoops, and yeah, just getting them acquainted with the sport. So I think they enjoy it. I try to be, somewhat low key and not like push them into something they don't want to do. So, but it's hard because I really just deep down, that's all I want them to do is play basketball first.
Hey, right on, right on. I also saw that you've worked with companies like BMW and Coca-Cola before, and I think that's super cool. What sort of things were you doing with those companies?
Well, I did my business degree at ASU, and then I got my master's when I came back here, and I just got into sales basically. So yeah, BMW was like my first place I worked, and I've been with every employer for around like 6, 7, or 8 years. So yeah, I like big brands. I'm because of my time in the U.S. I think it's been fun to work with some of the American brands and get to travel and just work with people. So I've been doing all kinds of different stuff, but pretty much everything related to sales. So it's fun.
What do you find most fun about working in sales?
I think when you build relationships with your customers and you kind of make it into a win-win where they trust you, and you can guide them, and of course increasing your sales and having good results is just part of it, but in the end, if your customer is happy with the decisions that they made and the work that I've done as their contact, that's like the ultimate. That's what we all like kind of go for, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into your background now. How would you describe your childhood growing up in Norway?
Well, I would say it's really like safe and normal, I guess you could say. I mean, my parents met through basketball, and they both played when I was born, and so I basically grew up in gyms, and they would just take me, and I'd just be hanging around and shooting, on the timeouts and the breaks and everything. And we're not really much of an outdoorsy family, so no, it was a lot of basketball. My parents, they work. They've always worked. My mom's an accountant, and my dad's a civil engineer, like a building engineer. So always, big focus on being successful at school and doing what you're supposed to. And they've always had my back. So I feel very lucky. I have a secure kind of a background, and I've always felt that they have my back. And what's funny is my grandparents, who I was really close to them growing up. We actually ended up buying their house. So the house that we live in now is the house that my dad grew up in, and also the house that I spent a lot of time in during my childhood. So I think that's really neat.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Mm.
I think it's so cool that you were really able to grow up around the game with your parents, and that you were able
Mm-hmm.
to sort of bond. No, you were able to bond with your parents through basketball. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and they coached me for a while, and then, normally when you coach your own kid, after a while, it's better to find somebody else to get some new ideas, and so that's what they did. And I think they handed me off to another coach at like 11 or 12, and it's good. And I mean, there was a time when like I couldn't even play a game if they weren't on the stands, so they'd always be there, and they'd always, very supportive, and I think that's super cool.
While you were in secondary school, you moved to California. You attended a Palo Verde High School. What was that transition like for you?
Well, it was funny because I was an exchange student, so you go through this program, and they send out your information, and then there's like families that can pick you. And I got this letter saying, because obviously nothing was online at that point, and I got this letter saying, "Oh, you're going to California," and I was like, "Woohoo!" I was just thought I was gonna go surfing and live on the beach. So I ended up in Blythe, which is like the border town between Arizona and California. I'm sure a lot of people have filled gas there. But it was cool. I mean, it's a small town, like 9,000 people, and obviously I played basketball, but I also got to try out volleyball, and I did track and field, and I did cross country. So I think that kind of contributed into making me more of a versatile athlete. I could do things that I haven't done before, and basketball was cool. Actually, the coach was my host dad, so I stayed with my coach. So lots of basketball there too. It was fun.
Hey, hey,
And then
right
and
on.
then that's kind of how I got to ASU also. So because it's not too far from Phoenix, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Were there any other schools that you were looking at in terms of colleges, or was it always just going to be ASU?
No, well, what happened at that time? It was more of you would send VHSs out, and we had some tournaments and stuff that we went to, but it wasn't. I don't think I was on a lot of schools' radars, so I would just send out VHSs. Um, and so there was a school in South Carolina. I remember talking to Pepperdine. I mean, there's several smaller schools, and what happened was, I mean, I was in the U.S. During what was my junior year of high school. So after that, I went home for a year, finished high school, and then I was just gonna take a year off. Like I was just thinking, I'm sick of school. I just gotta find out what I want to do with my life. And yeah, and then what happened was that spring, my last like my when I graduated from high school is when Charlie came in, Charlie Turner Thorne, and the roster was a little thin. So she started looking at tapes that she found in the office, and she called me. She's like, "Hey, you want to play?" and I was like, "Sure, let's do it." And then so I did an official recruiting trip, and yeah, I just saw how cool the whole ASU setup was, and obviously she was coming in then, so I would be kind of trying to do something new with a new coach, and I just thought that was a really, really cool opportunity. So that's how that came about.
Take me through freshman year. This is your first year of college at ASU. What do you remember most from your freshman year?
I think it was a big transition for me coming from Norway, and I mean, I wasn't used to that much time on the court, that much time in the weight room. It was just really structured. I mean, I was in good shape, so it wasn't like I was, making the runs. I was doing all the things I was supposed to, but it was quite an overwhelming year. I think we had like 8 or 9 seniors on the team. So I think Charlie was trying to kind of build the program from, build some roots. So I was given a lot of opportunity. I think I played, 15 to 20 minutes per game as a freshman, which was really, really cool. I mean, that's not a given, obviously, when you come in your first year. But it was really just one of those trying to find our way years, both for the players and the coaches. And um, no, but it's pretty brutal. Like I was homesick, and when I left, I had a boyfriend at home, and you know how that goes. So that ended pretty quickly, and I called my parents like all the time, and at that point, it was like ridiculously expensive to call to Europe. So I spent all my money on my phone bill, and but I think it was a good experience for me though. I stayed at the Sonora dorm, which was like brand new at the point at the time, and I shared like a suite. You know, we have like 2 bedrooms and then like a living room and a bathroom and the kitchen. I shared with 2 soccer players and a volleyball player, so we were all athletes. So that was nice. And I mean, the school part was fine. I didn't have any issues with that, but it was more just kind of getting used to all the expectations, and they just basically fill up your whole calendar. So that was new to me. I was used to being pretty independent before I came there, so they just take control of your life, and I was like, oh, okay.
Was something I thought that was interesting. What was your freshman year was the same year that our football team
Oh,
went to the Rose Bowl. It was the same year. Do you have any do you have any memories surrounding the football team that year?
it was awesome. This is gives me goosebumps thinking about it because I mean every single game was sold out. Jake Plummer and Pat Tillman and all those guys. Yeah, it was one of those you just had to be there to experience it. So really, really cool. So that was a good kind of an introduction to college too, because I was like, whoa, there's more people here than any other games that I've seen, professionally or amateur. So it's no, that was and that just seeing all the people dressed in maroon and gold and cheering on, it just gave, I guess, that extra little level of school spirit. So people were pumped. It was great.
Your best season at ASU was your senior year, and you averaged 10.4 points, and you made 34 three-pointers, which was the most on the team. So what was the mindset that you had throughout your senior year, which obviously led to a lot of success for you?
Well, I think it was culmination of the 3 prior years, and college is 4 years is a lot, but at the same time, it's kind of a short period of time. So I think I was trying to use the experience that I had Um, Charlie was, very insistent on keeping me as the sixth man, which kind of pissed me off at times. But hey, I was like, okay, I'll be the sixth man. So, and I also had, like, throughout my career, I had this because I'm 6 foot, so I'm kind of in between a guard and a post. So they would try to make me into a guard, for me to play the three, but I wasn't quick enough. So I was more of like a libero player. You could, both go outside and inside. And I think, yeah, senior year I was in really good shape. I mean, I was really strong because I'd lifted weights for 3 years, and it was uh, it was cool. We had a good team. We went to the NIT, lost in the first round. But at that point, I just understood because you saw the players coming in after us too. That I was like, okay, this team is going to be really good, and they were, obviously. So I wish I could have stayed like a year or two more just to be
Yeah.
part of that that kind of journey. But it was cool knowing that I was very much a part of building that. So them going to the Sweet 16, and it's pretty amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Throughout your 4 years at ASU, what would you say were some of the biggest things that you learned from Charlie?
Well, I think she's one of the most resilient people I know. She's very structured, and she expects and demands that from everybody else. So I think that as a player, it takes a while to kind of get used to. Um, but she's definitely, one to walk the talk. She does what she tells you to do, um, and just the whole balance of, being both a student and an athlete, and the importance of that, I think is was huge from Charlie's side. And then, she she had kids, and she was like back at practice the day after, which just always amazed me. I was like, yeah, she's impressive. So she actually came here to Norway to visit me, I'm not sure, maybe it's like 10, 12 years ago, which was cool. So when we see each other and when we chat, we have a good relationship. So I really, really close to Charlie. She's good.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. She's definitely a legend around these parts
Oh
here.
yeah, she
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And I mean, for the amount of years that she kept that program, it was, yeah, I was impressed because it's really just, it takes a toll being a college coach,
Hmm.
for your family and everything. So that was impressive for sure.
I read that you attended the 1998 Pac-10 Leadership Conference as a representative for ASU. What would you say are your biggest leadership qualities, and how did you develop those throughout your life?
Well, I think the people that I respect the most as leaders are the ones that actually lead by example. So I've always tried to do that. And I've had quite a few jobs in the recent years where I've had been responsible for other people. And I think just, you know, you're always going to meet people that have different qualities and different competencies than yourself. So I think focusing on that, because everybody can't do the same and be the same and know the same. So I think kind of a humble approach towards how everybody has something different that they can contribute with into the team or the organization. Or and I mean, I've never been afraid to kind of speak my opinion. And I think in some ways, I've had bosses tell me, you need to, learn how to be more political. And I've never been the political type. Like I'm more of like a passionate, emotional type, unfortunately, in some instances. But for the most part, I think that has helped me gain the respect of my peers and also my, direct reports. So I think that's kind of, integrity and just showing them, you know, what's right, and then letting people do what they're good at. and not, stealing their thunder, basically.
Are there any people who you would consider to be inspirations as leaders?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I always, like whenever you watch The Last Dance, you see what Michael Jordan was all about, and I think even people that don't know basketball can watch that and be like, okay, he was really something different. And I think I know of a lot of people that have been successful in their sports or whatever, and they're not always seen as like the nicest person or the most polite person. And I mean, in my head, like, in order to be really successful, you really have to have that kind of that tiger mentality. And sometimes that can kind of go too far, and you can do things or say things that aren't, maybe people don't appreciate. And I've been there myself. Like, people are like, you can't say that, or you can't do that, and it's more of like in the heat of the moment kind of thing. So I think I really respect um, the people that their passion just shines through, and that in so many instances is what leads them to be successful. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a great answer, but that's kind of how I think. Like, I don't have idols, but I have a lot of people that I respect, and I think a person like Michael Jordan is one of those. Like, he can be an a-hole sometimes, but he made it happen. So yeah, that's what I like.
Yes, definitely. Are there any particular games during your time at ASU that stick out to you?
Well, I think it was my freshman, maybe my sophomore year. We played UW, and they were undefeated and ranked number 7. We played them at home, and we were down by 2 with like 3.5 seconds left, and they had just scored, so we had the ball inbounded under their basket, and Shelly Tom got the ball and just took like 2 dribbles and just threw it from like behind the half court, and she made it, and we won. And it like made ESPN Play of the Day, and it was just one of those insane moments where it happens sometimes. You should always make sure you actually do take that shot, because sometimes it actually goes in. But that's one of those games where you just talk about after. And I wish there was more digital movies or films at that point, because then I could probably just go to YouTube and watch it. But yeah.
What do you remember from the battles against U of A from your perspective?
Well, I would always guard Dee Barnes, so I hated her. Like, I freaking hated her. So, and I mean, look at her now. She's awesome. It's really cool to see what she's done down there, even though it's U of A. But you got to give props where props is due. So, but it was one of those just hate games. We'd go down there, and I think I'm the type of person that, like, I get hyped when there's a lot at stake. And so I had a few really good games against U of A, again, because of my passion and just being pissed off. And but it was it was pretty brutal. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Do you still keep in touch with any of your former teammates?
I do. I mean, Facebook has made that a lot easier. Um, and there's a couple that I like send messages with quite frequently, like Kelly McDaniel. She's now Kelly Morris. I guess she's the one that I've kept the most in touch with. And then Liz Paulson, I've gone on a few trips and stuff with her. Shelly Tom was just here like 2 months ago. That's kind of random. She just sent me a message on Messenger and was like, "Hey, I'm coming to Oslo. Are you there?" I was like, "Yeah, come on." So we just met up and talked about good old times. 2 old ladies sitting down having lunch. It was fun. But yeah, and then just the classic kind of birthday wishes when people turn a year older and stuff. So but it's cool with Facebook. because I live so far away from everybody, but you feel like you're up to date when you see what they're doing, and they put pictures of their kids and what they're doing, and yeah, it's there's a lot of people that I really really care about still from my ASU days, and every once in a while, like a message or something will pop in, and it's good to just have a little chat and kind of catch up. It's good.
Well, it's great that you've been able to maintain to be able to maintain those connections and stuff. No, that's awesome. When's the last time you came to Tempe?
Ooh, good question. I guess in 2000, gotta be like 15 years ago. It's
Wow,
been
that's
a
a
long
long time.
time. Yeah, really. Let me think. Yeah, I gotta check because I actually don't know. But no, it's been way too long. And I've been to New York and I've been to Miami a couple of times, but we didn't go all the way to Arizona. So it's quite far from here. And once you get to the US, it's another long haul flight. So it's kind of yeah. But my oldest kid is 8 now, so we've talked about me wanting to go there as a family at some point. It's just gotta find the time. But I'm very much a Sun Devil. Like I really just keep up with what the different teams are doing, and it's just fun to see both what's going on with the school, both academically and athletically, and all the facilities that there are there now. I mean, it's impressive. It's really impressive. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, no doubt.
Mm.
After you graduated, I saw that you played basketball in Italy. What do you remember from that experience of playing in Italy?
Well, that was because I wanted to try and play professionally just to see what it was like, and so my agent found me a job in Sicily, and I played. There's actually one other American girl there, and for like the first 2 months, they wouldn't pass us the ball, which was kind of odd, but eventually they accepted us, and it was in the top league in Italy, and because of the schedule of the WNBA, most of the players in the WNBA they play um, abroad during the off season. So I played against a lot of good WNBA players. It was cool. Good
Wow,
experience.
wow,
But
wow.
then kind of and it was nice to try it and just to kind of see what it was like. But then after that, I was kind of ready to just get my life going, and so I ended up going back to Oslo, and then I got my master's degree, and then I just started working after that, and then that's all she wrote. Here I still, I'm still here.
Yeah, for sure. How was the food in Italy?
Oh, it's great. So we
Mm.
had this restaurant that sponsored us. So we just go there and eat after every practice or every day, for dinner. And I just have the same food every single day. Pasta with all kinds of shrimp, and it was great. But I gained some pounds that year from all the pasta, all the carbs. But that's okay. It was good. And
Uh,
fried
y-
mozzarella balls. It's like the best thing
Mm.
ever invented. It's so good. Yeah. So it was a good experience. I liked it. Sicily obviously is beautiful. It's very picturesque, and I was just outside of Palermo, which is the biggest city there. So there's plenty of things to do, and yeah, it was nice. I liked it.
You're making me hungry, Christine.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. No, but yeah, and then I came back to Norway, and then here, there's the clubs here. So I played here for years. I had a good time with it. Played with the national team for a while, and it was good. Basketball's always been a big part of my life, and it still is, and I think it will be for the rest of my life. So
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned getting your master's. What was that experience like?
it was good. I think some of the some of the employers here, they, there's two big business schools here in Oslo and or in Norway, and a lot of the employers here, they really want their employees to have gone to those schools, which I think is kind of a little ignorant way of thinking. But I finally just gave in, and I was like, okay, I'll get my master's, and then I had my undergrad from the U.S. and then my master's from Norway, and that's when I got my job in at BMW. So it worked. Somebody wanted to hire me.
Last question here. What overall impact did your time at Arizona State have on your life?
Ooh, that's a big question. Well, I think I'm so happy that I had those 4 years there. At times it was very hard. I mean, I cried and I was pissed, and I cursed at my coaches behind their backs, and but it was one of those things where I I really got to know myself, okay, and what my capabilities were, and how far I could actually be pushed, because that's what they do. Like, they try to just get the max out of you during those 4 years. And I can honestly say that it's not for everyone, because I think there's a lot of people that go into that experience not knowing what they're facing. And especially for me, coming from Norway, because I hadn't had that structured approach to working out, and just being part of a program with doctors and physical therapists and trainers and everything. So it was just a really nice experience for me to just max out and just get in the best shape of my life, and then see how good of a basketball player I could actually be. So the cool thing was, when I graduated, I was invited to the training camp for the Mercury. So I practiced with them for 2 weeks, and I was at my, the best player that I could probably be. I was, the strongest, the fastest, the kind of the best version of myself. And so I had 2 weeks at their training facility, and in practice and stuff. And I was I was just in awe how good those players were. I mean, most of them, they were taller than me, faster than me, stronger than me. But that was also kind of one of those things where it was a good kind of way of finishing out my college career, because I could honestly say that I gave it my best, and I gained good friends. I had a really cool coaching staff that really cared about us, and I got a great education, and it was free. So hey,
Thank you so much for letting me
yeah,
have this opportunity to chat with you today. Relive some pretty dang cool memories. So I mean, just thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
yeah, it was good. It's good talking to you. Good time.